All right, topic number 2, Lauren. So after it was reported on multiple news outlets that Alexa Bliss will be taking another leave of absence after her loss to Bianca Belair at the Royal Rumble, it got me to thinking, right? Is it time to revisit an idea that I had maybe 6 months ago about professional wrestlers having mandatory time off? And I want to take it a step farther because I think I kind of was just playing around with an idea last night. And the idea was, should there be seasons of wrestling? Almost in the vein of like NFL and NBA, would that be a more efficient way to run professional wrestling? And let me run by you how I think that could work, because I kind of laid down an outline here. This is how I see it working. I think that in a calendar year, you could have 2 professional wrestling seasons. You could have basically what would be your like summer, fall season, and then your winter, spring season. Okay. I think that makes the most sense with the way that WWE kind of runs their premium live events. So season 1 would kick off in November. Okay. Mm-hmm. And in November, there would be a draft. Okay. Every 2 times a year, there would be a draft. It's a big event. WWE can actually make it mean something, because the people who get drafted for that season are the only wrestlers that are going to compete in that season. If you are not drafted, that means that you then are in an off season, right? So Alexa Bliss, you're in off season, you get 6 months off. Yeah. You know, maybe you show up here or there for a surprise event, but you're given time away from wrestling. So in November, we start off and we start the season off with Survivor Series. So feel me, you have a draft, right? Okay. These people just get drafted to a team. And the first event you do is where you force them to fight on 2 teams together. You can do it in the what do they call it? The War Games, or you can do traditional Survivor Series. But then it makes the Survivor Series make sense, right? Because it's kind of a team building exercise. Yeah. These new guys are on Raw. These new guys are on SmackDown. Let's have a kind of a kickoff, a season kickoff with Survivor Series. So you do that. December, you can have like Evolution, an all women's pay-per-view. You could do whatever. December's typically been a bad month for premium live events, but you fill something in, generic premium live event. Then January, you have the Royal Rumble. This is right in the middle of your new season. Okay. So this is going to decide who goes to WrestleMania, which is essentially the Super Bowl of the season. So you go Royal Rumble to then Elimination Chamber, which can decide who's in the other World Championship match. And then you go March, you can do like TLC. And then April, it ends at WrestleMania.
Okay, but it's only with those people who were in that season.
Exactly. But WrestleMania should feel like a culmination of event, right? So like whoever wins the World Championship at WrestleMania should be etched into like a record book, and then they have to drop the title post WrestleMania because you won the season, right? When you win the world, like the Super Bowl, you're not necessarily I guess you are kind of the Super Bowl champion the next year, but like that title should be put on the line at WrestleMania. That should be the moment that's defended, and then you're the champion up until the next big event. Does any of that make sense?
So like let's say I win WrestleMania, right?
Let's rewind. Okay. So Roman Reigns, right? Let's say Roman Reigns is the Universal Heavyweight Champion. Okay. He should not defend that title at any event except WrestleMania and except what I have for the second season.
Okay, so he's going to go into WrestleMania, and then does he defend his championship there?
That's where he defends it. So the belts between then can be defended.
But if he keeps his champion, then he's still the champion?
Yes, he moves forward as champion. But it's like into the next Super Bowl.
Season.
Yes.
Okay.
So he doesn't need to qualify. Now you can put him in some matches because you're going to want him on TV.
But let's say Cody Rhodes wins the championship, then he would go on.
He would continue into the next season as champion. This is all. And look, anybody who has ideas to kind of tweak this and work this out, work it out with me, and let's figure it out. Let's make it work. So you go through, right? That's season 1. It ends. Then you immediately go into a draft again. So you're drafting twice a year. This time you're drafting end of April. You have a draft. Okay. And you reset SmackDown, Raw. These are how basically this is the 2 teams that are going to tour the country, because basically wrestling is 2 tours. So you set your tours, and then you start off right off with Money in the Bank. So this season, there's a wild card because whoever wins Money in the Bank can challenge at any point in time Roman Reigns for that title.
Okay.
Then you go Hell in a Cell.
So technically, whoever wins WrestleMania still has to go to the next season.
Yeah, but typically
they only go
that
every
guy
once
doesn't
in a while.
want a break, right? Your main champion doesn't want that break.
Yeah.
The people who aren't going to want the break are essentially when the season ends, you're going to look and go, who's banged up? Who could use 6 months off? Randy Orton? All right. You're going to sit out this fall season, right? It's not really in a sense of like, let's really draft. It's assess the roster. What 30 or 40 guys do we need for the next 6 months? Let's pull them up. The other, it's giving people a break. They get to literally just take off, go home 6 months. They can go to the performance center and train.
And it changes, right? It's not the same people who get like the first season off.
No, it should always be changing whoever needs it, right? Along with NXT. So every time you could have guys called up from NXT, you could have guys go down from back to NXT for 6 months. If like, let's say someone like Madcap Moss, right? He's not doing well on the main roster. You could have him drafted back into NXT without it feeling like a demotion.
Yeah.
It feels like they drafted him. So I'd go Hell in a Cell, then I'd go King of the Ring. I think that gives you a little bit of excitement. Then right in the middle of the season, SummerSlam. But make it a big party. Make it like Bash at the Beach. Do it at like a Miami on the beach, like a spring break type thing feeling.
That would be cool.
And make it a big party. Less about like the wrestling and make it a big party. Then we go Extreme Rules. Then we end the season with a second WrestleMania, which is Crown Jewel.
Oh.
Crown Jewel is the second big event where the title's back on the line. Because if Abu Dhabi wants those big matches, have it lead up to something. But
it's actually kind of cool.
In doing this, I think that what you could do is you could make records matter, right? So that you only have to have a guy be good for 6 months. If The Miz has a good season, then you know heading into WrestleMania, this is the guy that's going to challenge the grand champion.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Roman Reigns, whoever's holding that belt, and I just like I see this working on a level of like making it feel more like sports and less like a run-on sentence. Wrestling has a tendency to feel like a run-on sentence where guys just jump into the next situation. It would make sense if like Dolph Ziggler is trying to get a match with Austin Theory because he wants to improve himself in the rankings, so that when it comes to WrestleMania, he's in a spot to get one of those belts, right? He wants to get the United States champion because like maybe, like we said, maybe all of the champions automatically carry over to the next season. So they don't have to worry about the draft because they have that belt.
So you mentioned ranking. So it'll actually be like a ranking system of the wrestlers.
Think about the amount of conversation that could be had if there was an actual ranking system within wrestling. And it actually, so like if every week there was a power rankings that came out, and they used to do this, but in AEW tried to do it, but if you have to do it efficiently, you can't half-ass it.
Like have made up numbers.
Yeah, but if there was literally like a ranking system, like we're going into WrestleMania and it looks like Montez Ford and The Miz are points off from being number 2 and getting that world championship match.
Because then they'd have to win like this match against so-and-so in order to move up the rankings to be eligible. Okay, that would make sense. And every time
someone interfered in your match and cost you a match, sometimes to me it feels like, well, who cares if you win or lose, right? Yeah. But if they cost you that match and it cost you points and cost
you don't
get
to go to Elimination Chamber or something like that because you didn't win enough.
So like, yeah, the 6 people who qualify for the Elimination Chamber are literally the 6 people with the best power rankings.
That is kind of interesting because I felt like some of the elimination people were just kind of like
random
throwaways. Yeah, is what I like to call them.
It's 100%, right? It's just like, oh, Natalia's back, she gets a spot.
Yeah,
that doesn't make sense. Wrestling to me would feel more fun.
I really liked her outfit this week.
You liked her outfit?
Yeah,
you're full of shit.
It was the pink beret that did it for me.
You're full of shit. I know you're hating on it. Just playing. Booker, from the off-season benefit to me is the biggest part of this, right? So you add the element of it being a sport. It gives people like us things to talk about. You then can create like ESPN style programming on WWE where you're literally talking about like what the implications of certain matches are. Because you really can't do that, right?
Yeah.
If Sami Zayn loses to Roman Reigns, we're just supposed to forget about it the next week.
I agree.
Instead of talking about what the implications are. But I think the most important thing is that you don't get these start and stops like with Alexa Bliss. If Alexa Bliss knows, oh man, I just got to make it to April, and then I can have 6 months off. I get a whole season off to recover, to have my honeymoon, do whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think there would be less injuries, more predictability, better mental health for wrestlers. I just could see by breaking it down like that. And I'm sure like there are nuances to what I said that are wrong. And I want everybody to jump in and kind of like
why it would work.
Tweak what, what works and what doesn't work and what events would make most sense. But I also think that it can help with like creativity, because think about it like this. If you have a gimmick, Kofi Kingston, right? Yes. Let's just pretend the Jamaican gimmick. And in those 6 months, it doesn't work. That's the only time that you have to run with that gimmick, right? Because when that ends, and I think there should be like, 15 to 20 days in between WrestleMania and the draft where they get off. And then we come back for the draft.
Lacey Evans is a great example.
But you come back at the draft, you can then be a whole new character and reinvent yourself. And it feels like it works because we're going into the next season.
Yeah. Things change all the time.
I just feel like it would help. It would prevent burnout. It would help with injuries. It would help with.
Well, also, as from a viewer, it's sometimes interesting for somebody to be away, and then when they come back, it's that much more exciting.
But think about it like this: some of the best. We know this from going to the Royal Rumble. Some of the most fun moments in wrestling are the return.
Yeah.
But what if those returns were kind of like? How big of a night would it be if 2 times a year, April and what the other one would be?
You said November.
It would be October, end of October. Okay. You'd have one in April and one in October, where you sat down, you got your fucking popcorn ready, and you didn't know who was going to be drafted. Mm-hmm. And then there are surprises, right? Yeah. Oh shit, Sasha Banks is back.
Yeah.
Oh shit, Naomi. Oh my God. This person came.
Nikki Bella is
Cody
back.
Rhodes got drafted, right? Like, I think that those nights the excitement would be. Right now, the draft is stupid.
Yeah.
It serves absolutely no purpose other than just a reshuffling of rosters, because basically WWE has started to see that there's a misbalance in the two shows. That's all the draft is used for. And it's not annual and it's not on a set day. So it's just completely random. It's like they go into the office and they go, man, these rosters aren't, they're not matched up. Let's do a draft.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. But if you knew 2 times a year there were drafts set up that were going to be NXT.
See, I don't think I even noticed that. Does the drafts just kind of happen?
That's all it is. I mean, it just randomly happens and it's made to rebalance the rosters. But then it doesn't mean anything because 6 weeks later, someone just decides to leave Monday Night Raw and go to SmackDown and it's okay, right?
Yeah.
Rey Mysterio just switches shows. The Maximum Male Models just switch shows. You don't need a draft. You just do it when you want. If there was actual, like, you know what I'm saying?
Set dates. Know the Super Bowl is going to be in this date or like whatever.
And then you can do like free agency. There's so many cool things you could do.
Is like, cool.
Like, let's say, Cody Rhodes gets injured in the middle of a season. Well, simply if Randy Orton's ready to go, you pick up the phone and you act like you signed a free agent onto the roster. He comes in. He's given the opportunity to earn the amount of points that he needs to get into a match. I just think like and maybe it's just too much math and too logical and too much having to follow things. From a watching standpoint, it would make it so much more interesting if I could know going into Monday Night Raw why Monday Night Raw was important. Well, Chad Gable's weirdly like 12 points out of third place. If Chad Gable wrestles tonight, this is a big opportunity. Whereas right now, it's just...
It adds weight to the matches.
There's Chad Gable, I guess. Right? And then, half the time we don't know the card going into the night. That's one thing I think UFC does so well is like they give you a certain amount of time to be excited about the card you're about to watch. And then, like we said, the premium live events hold even more weight. They should be weighted more for the points that you get in the power rankings. The titles should be on the line and shift around. And it just like, I like the idea of doing seasons. I think that I don't like this, like we get invested into Alexa Bliss, then she needs to take time off.
Yeah.
And I'm not blaming Alexa Bliss. Maybe she's pregnant. Maybe
They said it was planned time off, didn't they?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I didn't read deep into it, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know what it is, but it's just so fucking weird that, like, we've been invested into why, if this is planned time off, why have Bray Wyatt get invested into her story and Uncle Howdy? What is the purpose of that? It doesn't make any sense because it had absolutely no involvement at Royal Rumble. Uncle Howdy wasn't a part. The match ended and she did the weird and then she leaves, and I guess she's gonna come back dark again. I don't know, but I just don't like the start and stop is so hard to follow.
Well, because I was finally getting back into Alexa Bliss and excited. And
then if it's scheduled time off, she came back 5 months ago, 6 months ago. So how are you scheduling? It doesn't make sense. 2 seasons to me makes way more sense.